Did you get through
You
this?
gotta adjourn the.
Oh, okay, that's right. Adjourn the meeting, the regular selectmen meeting. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
John did. I'll
John did?
second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Okay.
All right. So I would, before we get into the operating budget, I want to say a few words. May clarify some things for everybody. It will only take me about 5 minutes. All right. All right. I'm going to say this is a fair and responsible budget we are proposing. This isn't about high appropriations or low appropriations. It's about raising the amount of money we need to fiscally operate our departments to meet our essential needs. Obviously, the cost of living and worldwide inflation means necessities just cost more. Electric, fuel for town vehicles, everything from ammo for the PD to ink cartridges for the offices. I think you get the point. So, but I want to stress our most important assets of our town are our employees. 35 years ago, I served in my first term as selectman and witnessed firsthand the competency and dedication of the men and women who work for our town. The same qualities exist today. 35 years later, the workload is greater and more complicated, but our employees today are dedicated, they work hard, they work extra, and we're fortunate they work for us. We want to make sure our employees are fairly compensated. Last year, we did an analysis of wage comparisons to other municipalities across the state, and after the analysis, the selectmen recommended raises for each and every employee, bringing the compensation up to a standard, making it fair, but also to keep our employees, as competition for skilled labor has intensified. This past year, the cost of living adjustment, COLA, was pegged at 8.7%. So last year, we approved wage increases to a fair level based on statewide standards, but inflation has eroded the earnings of our employees. Therefore, the selectmen are unanimously proposing an 8.7% cost of living adjustment, bringing our employees' wages back to a fair and competitive level. We hope we agree. But that just sort of leads into where we're going when you start seeing where the increases are coming from. Okay.
I agree with what you said as far as our employees, and we're very fortunate to have across the board all of our employees. Thank you for what you guys do.
Okay. All right, so the first item up is the, everybody's looking at the selectmen. Budget 2022. Should I go through each one? Or just, okay. We're up a little bit on this, okay, 5.44%. Budget difference is $1,511. Is there any question? That's just for the selectmen. Okay. Now to the town clerk. You can see there again, her budget was $87,000. This year she's proposing $93,000. It's an increase of 6.6%, and the money difference is $1,521. But there again, that increase is the 8.7% increase is reflected in that. Okay.
I would just comment that the clerk's workload in the last 2 years, based on the new regulations and the duties that are put on them, particularly at elections, is phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I said that, you know, they work more, they work extra. And there's a lot of extra work going on. That's something we should be looking at, and we've talked about that. Financial administration, that budget is up a bit also. And I think you could see each item, some things, office wages, once again. But in general, you know, it's fairly, you know, I think it reflects again what we need to do to make sure we run this thing right. So is there any questions about financial administration?
The $6,000 on the professional fees is the accounting firm, correct?
And Avatar.
Oh, right.
Yeah, movie.
What's that? We getting royalties?
All right, assessing, it's the same as last year. Jason?
Let me just say also, it's also that school thing that the donor towns.
Okay, thank you.
Is the assessment process complete that was being done, or
It's ongoing.
Goes on
it's
forever.
ongoing?
Yeah.
Instead of waiting like 10 years and then doing it and just have this giant bill, he just kind of it does comparisons and neighborhoods and this and that, and works on it that way, which I think has worked very well. Just a side word about Bartlett. Bartlett just did it the first time in how many, 10 years or whatever, and their assessment doubled, just about doubled for everybody. We don't work that way.
So we have a town-wide revaluation every 5 years.
Right.
But he does do changes.
So it's a
Driven by
Yeah.
building permits.
Right,
So
yeah.
most,
Right. Our legal budget, it looks like we're gonna keep that the same at $35,000. Although we didn't use it all, you just never know. We're gonna need something coming along here, okay? Personnel administration, you can see that it's gone from 453 for a proposed budget of 485. It's a 7.14% raise, or $32,342. That has to do with our health insurance, New Hampshire retirement system, FICA, and Medicare. And she put some notes in here for us. A new library director has not yet been hired, so the cost of health insurance had to be budgeted at the family rate for 6 months per library trustees. We will see.
So it'll go down.
Good.
Could you talk a little bit about the health insurance, because it did go, even though it's higher on the budget, it did go down this year.
It did go, yes, but basically the family plan in half is 10,000, so.
Right. So the rates we looked at, you looked at again?
Or actually a little bit.
Yeah.
A family plan is like 28, so it's less than that, so.
But the premiums went down this year and
Yes.
changed to a different, one of the other two companies. And then the New Hampshire retirement went up, which is not something that we have control over.
Well, the rates are actually, so in July, the rates, the percentages that the town pays are going down, but with the wage increases, it offsets that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Planning and zoning boards, bit of an increase here.
And that's due to the request for the capital improvement plan, in case they wanted to use someone like North Country Council or somebody else.
Okay, yeah. We have to update the town capital improvement, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Any questions about that, folks? You want to say anything about it?
We will try not to spend it.
Very good.
Okay.
Doesn't matter, the taxpayers just doing it.
General government parks and buildings, again, we're up a little bit there. But it's, again, you know, we already mentioned about the cost of living and inflation and all of that.
Question.
I'm sorry.
Question on that,
Yes, sir.
just a point, in old timers, long time, can anybody define where the old town hall is? We only have one town hall, it's not old, it's not that, I hate that.
If,
So please address that.
hold on,
Are you
I'm sorry you didn't know
Davis?
that,
Are you
because
Davis?
if Ray Abbott was here,
If Ray
we know
Abbott
we
was
would
here.
hear, all right? And I didn't
Actually,
pick up on
B.
that,
Davis
you're right,
was the
it's
one
not
who
the
said
it's
that.
the only.
The only town hall, I hate the fact that we're referred to as, where's the new one?
Whatever
Well,
like
you
that,
know, if they said
whatever
that
like that
older
move.
building we used to call, you
Yes,
know.
That would be great.
It's still an old building.
Well, I'm an old man, but.
Town hall.
Can we
call you the old-
Can we call you the old moderator?
We call it old building tax.
All the historical
It's the year, the year
Because the
is
new
right
moderator is
there.
older than the other ones.
That's what it is.
says town hall
It does.
on it. It's an old building, so it's the old town hall.
All right, just gotta have a fun comment.
I don't know, I think probably.
I thought
And
Ray
would
Abbott
be up and
slipped in.
on.
Actually, it was the Davis who always fought that. What?
That is a red.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it's big.
All right, folks, let's go on to the cemeteries. Okay?
Oh, yeah, well,
We paid,
the Patriots are
self-transfer,
making
okay,
ours to the cemetery.
right? Cemeteries, okay, right? See the numbers? And,
Perfect, thank you.
Insurance, okay. Now, I guess we should read this. Insurance increases are calculated by Primex, which is a property liability, workers' compensation, and unemployment compensation. And in 2021, Primex issued premium holiday, which was applied towards the 2022 $79,844, minus $18,000, will give us $61,000 in 2023. The holiday premium was $55, which is being applied to 2023. And our ultimate bottom line here is $78,123.
I had Julie add that verbiage in there because when you look at this across the board, it says 26% increase.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't go up, it was because we had the payment holiday. It's all,
Right.
it's all
Right.
explained there, but, and it's also, we're satisfied with the services that
Right.
Primex does, so.
Building
Thanks.
inspector, he's not here, but, again.
He's here.
He's
He's here.
He's hiding.
It's out there.
I mean, you don't have to explain it, I mean, you're not asking for much more here.
What
Well, he has-
percent of that do we get back from fees?
I forget how much it is because I looked at that too, Jay.
It's quite a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, it's almost enough to.
Oh, I didn't put it in there.
I know it's not.
Here, hold on, I can tell you.
Yeah, it's almost enough to cover the salary,
Right,
yeah.
right. I mean, the increases for, are you still, but the building
Yeah,
inspector,
so-
pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So last year, building permit fees was $47,091.
Yeah. Good job.
Did we pay Kevin for gas and stuff on his own vehicle last time?
We get
Mileage.
mileage.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now he's
Oh,
got his
that's
own
So is that coming out of the
vehicle.
budget somewhere else, because we're giving him 5,000 for his vehicle here?
We don't pay mileage anymore.
No, but from last
Where
year,
did we
we
pay
did.
it last year?
It was in his expenses.
Okay, so
But
it's
it's
not
not.
in expenses anymore, though.
Right.
Oh, it's in the
know what I'm
5,000, I see.
So are you saying you want to drop something?
Well, I'm just saying, his expenses should drop because he's no more.
I mean, it was anywhere, it was like
But
20
you're
bucks a
still
week.
gonna have expenses on the
So it's,
vehicle.
yeah, it's
Right,
not
I
gonna,
understand
it's not
that,
gonna
but
be an even
He's
wash.
not gonna have those expenses that we're paying for mileage
But
last year.
yeah, it was only like 20 bucks a week though.
Okay. Now with that, police department, you can see their budget, what was proposed in 2022, now 2023, and the 8.7% increases in that. And as you can see, there's a right call costs have increased due to lack of state and county coverage. What does that exactly mean, Chief?
Oh, well, well, thank you. And I'd like to say thank you for your kind words and all the board's support over the years. It really is, Dave mentioned that people like living here because people are friendly and seem to get along. And I would say the same thing about working with the fire department, the highway department, the building inspector. It's really, I've worked at a bunch of different places and I've worked in police work for a long time. And it really is, it does work. It works really well.
You don't say that about you, it's funny.
John doesn't say anything.
See,
the whole
John's on his
meeting
way
with
out.
that.
I'm on my way out, so I can say whatever I want.
I was nodding at most of you.
Okay.
But, and you are, and I want to thank, and I want to thank you, John, for your support and your encouragement, because the first time you asked me to come here, I told you no, and you said, come on, come talk to us. I appreciate it.
Well, it's been great to have you.
You've been a great selectman, and, yeah, consider you a good friend. So, to answer your question directly, Frank, about the cost of call coverage. When I first started, we had 24-hour coverage with state police, so any time that we didn't have covered, they had troopers available to respond to calls. So that kind of started slowly atrophying for a number of reasons, and I did say, I think at the first budget hearing, to a question, it's like, you can't rely on the kindness of others with emergency services, because their priorities are their priorities, and we are not necessarily their priority. Jackson should be our priority. So the state police has had substantial reductions in labor. They were down as many as 75 troopers overall. So their hours were rolled back, actually their hours were rolled back so far that they worked less than Jackson Police Department worked. So we initially started having a call coverage program where an officer would be on call, he has to be home, he has to be ready for duty, he has to respond when called. So, and there was a minor stipend associated with that. Now that was originally, it was like 4 hours, now it's an entire 8-hour block. The state police is working on working that back, so whether or not we'll be able to get to that. Last year I budgeted for 6 months of 8-hour call, because I thought there's no way the state police are gonna be that short for an entire year. I was completely 6 months wrong, because for the entire year, they've only worked till 11:30. Now, granted, they might work till 11:30, which would cover a half an hour of us not working, but they would often only have 2 troopers out of Troop E, which is our territory. Now, Troop E covers all the way from Laconia to the heights of the lane. So they wouldn't necessarily be in the area in the North Country even after our hours. So there were a couple of times when they would call state police and they're just out of position or otherwise occupied. So we've had to make a concerted effort to really dutifully cover those off hours so that when somebody is in need, a police officer shows up. So because of that, and I don't know if state police is going to get to a point where they have the whole thing covered, then I had to increase the call compensation for an entire, I had to budget for an entire year. Now, the good news about that, it's kind of like fuel, is the only place we can spend call compensation is on call. So if suddenly there's full coverage and we don't have to cover call, there's no place to spend that money, just like fuel. If we're not buying gas, we don't pay money out of the gas line. So, but that's why that increase has happened. The sheriff's department, same thing. They're off the road at 11, and they won't authorize overtime for a town that has a police department. They go to Chatham and they go to Albany and Eaton, but they won't send out a deputy unless we call for help, because we're there.
So what happens on Saturday night if something happens, or Friday night in town? What kind of coverage? How do we?
Oh, if it's after 11, then they're gonna call a Jackson police officer, and it's gonna be one of the 4 of us, including me, and we're gonna saddle up and we're gonna come. So, which has happened.
People know there's always gonna be somebody. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the important.
Oh, yeah, which has happened, multiple times. Well, Linda knows, because often at 3 in the morning, I'm calling her to tell her the library's buttoned up a couple of times. But, and it's not, it's not an inconvenience, it's why we're here. It's, that's what we do. But I do need to fairly compensate them for that, because they have to be at the ready, and they have to be home, and, they can't be away while they're on call, and it coincides with their work schedule, so.
Okay. All right. Okay. Next item up is ambulance, and Barb, you want to talk about that?
So we have met with the ambulance one time. We're going to meet with them again next Tuesday morning to finalize their budget. They did ask for a substantial increase, almost 50%, but we figured we'd come in a little bit more reasonable. So we're putting it in at $20,000 right now, and that's $20,000 for Jackson, $30,000 for Bartlett for what they requested, but we'll have a final number for the next budget hearing.
It's a bargain, folks.
Bargain.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I have a question. Did they talk about putting money away besides the $10,000 for a new ambulance?
They did, but and that's gonna be part of the big conversation on Tuesday as well, because they kind of stuck it on the bottom of their budget sheet there, but that's something that we need to either set up a capital reserve fund for, or decide between the 2 towns what we need to do.
Okay, because
So-
I've been kind of staying out of it, but I know by experience, that ambulance is 8 years old and
Yep.
it's tired.
Yeah,
It's had, maintenance is done on everything all the time and stuff like that, but.
maybe I'll reach out to you before that meeting Tuesday and get a better feel for what you think then.
And just for a heads up, I think if you were to order an ambulance right now, you would have
18
it for
months.
2 years.
Yeah.
18 months.
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah, so that's part of the big conversation Tuesday for sure.
Yep.
But thank you for that, I appreciate it.
But you can get a tank.
Hmm?
You can get a tank and we can have.
Just really quick, it's nothing for this year, but coming.
You talking about the ambulance?
Yeah. There's gonna be some emergency communication towers coming next year. Especially EMS and Bartlett Fire is requesting upgraded radio system for the lack of coverage areas.
Mhm.
So that's just one of these selectmen's meetings, I'm gonna come in and talk about it, but it's gonna be a big item. So it may take a couple of years of planning unless you get a grant for it or something, but it's primarily coming from EMS and Bartlett Fire. In Jackson, we're lucky with payroll location, we're covered 90% would be my guess for Jackson Fire.
Right,
But the EMS for Jackson is a different issue.
Yeah.
So that's coming down the pike.
okay.
Kind of the very, very beginnings of discussing it, but it's definitely something's coming.
Okay, thanks for that warning.
Well, we're just gonna seg right into your department, Jay.
What's that?
Fire department, you're next. All right?
Jay, could you talk about what the 30,000 in building maintenance gets you?
Repairs, basically.
I'm wondering if
Whatever needs to be repaired, and that's like immediate repairs, not even the drastic difference between repairs and a renovation.
and that's what I was wondering, if it's gonna be 30,000 a year in repairs, couldn't that go to pay a bond where you could get to do the renovations?
Yes, if we look towards a renovation, I guess that hasn't been talked about yet or decided. I mean, I've studied it myself, but there hasn't been any discussion of what direction we're going yet. But yes, you are correct.
I'm just throwing that
Just
out.
as an example, the $1.2 million highway garage bond
Yeah.
that we're paying right now, I think our payment is in around $30,000 a year is what we pay for that.
That's what I'm referring to. In other words,
Right.
if you got a $1.2 million renovation, your numbers are still gonna be the same. You're still gonna be spending 30,000.
You're just committed to the bond term, yes.
Right.
Peter?
I get what you're saying, Jerry. We're kind of in the middle, or no person's land. There are repairs that need to be done. We don't want to do too much, thinking down the road that we don't know how everything's gonna look, but, last year was electrical that we absolutely had to do. We have a leaky roof. We have things that are just past due that we have to
And that's what I'm wondering, if you spent the same bucks.
So one of my discussion points for the planning board coming up when I go to one of their meetings is the speed of the capital plan, because we have immediate things coming down the road that'll need to be fixed, that it'd be nice to know what direction we're gonna go as to how much money we put into the building, what can be put off.
I was just putting it out there for
I'll give you an
conversation.
example. Last year, we spent 30 grand in the building in 2022. By the time I got all my repairs done, we found that, then we went backwards because a roof issue popped up and a garage door issue popped up. So we spent 30 and then all of a sudden $40,000 of repairs come up like that. I mean, don't have to be fixed right this minute, but
And that's what I was referring to. I was thinking of the numbers in town garage, what that would get you in terms of, almost $2 million in
Right.
we haven't explored
Right.
whether we are.
But I think you're going in the right direction, Jay, when you ask that question. Because at some point, we're gonna get together all these things that we need to repair over there. And it might make sense to have a bond that's gonna cover that for a term
That's what I'm-
over years to get it done.
That's what I'm throwing
And
out
that's
for
why
discussion.
I went down, I was talking to Jay, I was talking to Billy today about that, and we're gonna get there. We were waiting for this to see, it's obviously the fire department is on people's minds, okay? So, again, prioritize what needs to be done, the roof, the electrical, the sprinkler system, the siding in the back, the extension of the building, all of that, we gotta get some costs down, and we gotta start working towards that. And I'm all for that, personally.
Just a point for Jerry and some people that may not realize it, but if you take that building and you empty it, and you look at today's replacement cost of the vehicles, the trucks, all of the equipment on the trucks, hose, everything, gear, protective equipment, training aids, maintenance stuff, everything imaginable in that building. God forbid, if it burned tonight, forget the cost of building a new station. You got $5 million loss in that building right now if it burns. And we need to protect it as best we can, as Jason says. It's a Band-Aid on a gushing wound, but what do we do? And I think the selectmen are very aware of that.
But I think one of the next discussion points that we really need to get into is, are we gonna go towards a renovation, or are we gonna still explore a new building? I mean, we spent 3 years on the fire station study looking at that, and it's more than just one or two of us opinions, there is 800 people
Right.
here, so that's gonna be the next discussion, is to try to figure out which direction are we truly gonna go.
correct?
It's more than just what I feel or what Frank feels.
Well, that's right, and we'll find that out, okay, but I think that the idea of refurbishment, doing things that need to be done and hitting those things would be the most economical way to do it. And you can still do the work you need to do to get done. So we're gonna get into discussion about a new fire station and whether we should do repairs. We know we have repairs that have to be done. And if you tell me, like Billy's saying, that maybe we should have a sprinkler system and we should just get it and do it to protect those buildings. You told me that 2 years, well, a year and a half ago.
There's certain things that can't be done until other things are done.
Well,
So
things, but put together a plan that allows for those.
just keep in mind, you have repairs and renovation are two different things.
Right.
Can I ask you a question then, Frank? What do you think should be in Jay's number for building maintenance?
Well, I know you asked that question, because it wasn't there, but I was thinking maybe that is the place. I kind of mentioned it to Jay, maybe we should be bumping that up. Maybe we should be looking at that in something that we can do that we know. Or is it too early still? I mean, you have a whole bunch of things, but
I think it's a little too early until we decide whether we're going renovation-wise or new station-wise. 'Cause I definitely
Oh, I
don't want
agree with that. I think this is, I think, aside from renovation or new building, I'm just wondering if $30,000 is enough to cover your emergency
immediate repairs for 2024,
Right.
yes.
That's
I mean,
my
it's not gonna, we're not gonna get into the roof because that's a big, that really should be part of a renovation if we go renovation.
Right.
The week that we have, it's gonna cost 40 grand to fix it with new steel,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, I wouldn't call it immediate, like, we have to do it, this year.
all right.
So
I'm just wanting you to make a conscious decision that says, if I have building maintenance, not renovation related, building maintenance, are you comfortable putting 30,000 in there right now?
For 23, yes.
Yeah, okay,
Because
that's
it
all I need to
involves
know.
fixing
Yep.
the overhang roof over the oil room, which has to be fixed. It's the cold storage that we're working on right now at the old salt shed. It's got some money there. A door,
Mhm.
a handful, a
That's
little bit
good. I
more
just wanted to make
electrical, immediate stuff.
And you did, we'll get to it, you did bump your reserve fund a little bit too, back up a little bit for your special equipment.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
But that'll come later.
All right,
Yeah.
Okay,
all right.
sounds good.
On to next. Thank you for the question. Emergency management, up a little bit. Not much.
For the increase in.
Emergency, yeah, again, the increase in taxes and all that. Any questions on that? All right, highway administration, goes over to this page here. Gary has been working pretty hard here the last couple of days, and he's got another few more days coming up, so he's not here with us, but it's a pretty flat budget, I think you can see that,
Actually, it's not because,
except for the wages.
yeah.
Yeah,
and
the
the
wages
in-
are always gonna.
And the,
that's what I tried to
and the
make that.
increase in the stipend, which is almost doubled, so, from $810 to $1,500 per
Right.
employee.
And what she's talking about, the stipend, is that we tell our guys, it's winter time, and you can't leave town, you gotta be here, so we pay them a little extra every month for 6 months. It's a goodwill gesture, really, but it's really the right thing to do. Yes, sir.
Jim, on the, we're scared here, I know they've been working the butt
Yeah,
off.
that's it. Yeah.
It's a little scary, the last 2 winters have been pretty darn mild. And we're starting off here in January with a bang. If we keep this up like we did 4 years ago, or even a while, nobody can predict that. There could be numbers in here that could be probably in deficit, because of the fact the last few years, we haven't had any extreme weather in winter time. Just a point.
Well, Gary felt comfortable, and he feels comfortable with it.
That's always
He's
an
a North Country boy too, I mean,
That's always been an unknown.
yeah, but you
Don't know
can't,
that.
you can't. Right.
Can't stop.
And,
Exactly.
I'm hoping like the snow stops
We ran out of
sometime
money,
in the
they
next
had
week
another
or so.
snowstorm.
I don't know.
One item we might want to bump up is the utilities and propane for him. That was maybe overlooked, so we should bump that up just a little bit.
And he
I was thinking
Good.
telephone internet services, because I can't imagine them going down. I mean, budgeted 3,000, spent 3,600.
I might chat with him and have a couple
That's
increases
one
for the
thing, I can't
next
see
meeting.
that change.
Okay, because we do have a second meeting in a couple
Yeah.
of weeks, so you know, some of these things, but that's good discussion. Solid waste, anything else? We don't have, okay, solid waste disposal?
I did get some numbers in just now from Bartlett, and it looks like we're still okay.
Okay.
With the budget, so our budget's the same as last year?
Yeah.
You need to increase
You're right.
your stuff too.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All
Be
right.
kind to your transfer station.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
There you
we
go.
all
Boy.
We're going, can we go back to fire for 1 second?
Sure.
Which one did you see? Julie, did you just point
The
one out?
propane, utilities,
Yeah, is that a
Every-
misprint? Because I thought we increased.
things
it
are
when we
going up
talked
so
about it.
high. You know, electric and
All
Yeah.
right,
Is
so
that a
we may
misprint?
have a couple of increases just on some of those
Yeah, okay,
utilities
those are
for
a
next.
little
yeah.
Okay.
So you'll speak with Gary and,
Yep.
or Jay is here, so
Yep.
Jay, you'll be aware of
We'll
it.
bump,
Looks
yeah.
like we're trying to get.
Because
more.
Julie, they're almost doubling.
They are almost doubling. Yes, electricity and heating
Oh, yeah.
is doubling.
So we'll
that's
bump that
not-
up.
Yeah.
New Hampshire Electric Co-op, actually, the kilowatt hour is going down.
I think what she's telling you is not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Jerry?
It's, you don't have enough in
Right.
the, in the fuel.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're,
Yeah.
we're aware of
That's
that.
what I'm saying.
We're saying that's what we're
Okay.
working
Is
towards.
it that even, well, yeah, okay.
We'll bump it up for next meeting.
I would even say
It looks
salt
like that for
too.
every department.
Well, he didn't want to go up on that,
He said
but
he had plenty
he
on
did.
that.
But
Last
we can
year's
certainly, we'll revisit a couple of these numbers.
Right. Good. Good discussion. Again, solid waste disposal, can I go back to that? You there?
Yep.
Okay. And you can see its budget is the same as, you know, what it was last year. And we have a few issues up there every now and then. But if you have your sticker and you pay attention and do your recycling, you're gonna be good.
Be nice.
But we're watching. Okay? Beware. Animal control. Well, we pay for that, $500.
Yep. Catch a pig or two.
That's right.
Oh, that's right. That's
Those
right.
are
That's a good
petunia.
story.
That's a no charge added, that's 500. We have to pay a $500 fee every year to the animal shelter. They, depending on usage and the size of your community, they send you a bill that you pay up front, and then you have, you know, open access to the facility. We almost unilaterally do not take animals to the pound because we either know where they live, or we find the owner,
We
or
cook 'em.
or you can't pick them up anyway because they're too big.
They don't take pigs?
Have bacon for breakfast.
Yeah, he did. But the funny thing was, I was working at Madeline's that day, and this guy came in cross-country, first time to Jackson. He said, I was just up cross-country skiing, and a pig was following me down there. And then the next day, the article was in the paper. Oh, my God.
So
Start singing themes of Green Acres.
Jackson used to have a dedicated animal control officer and an
Yeah.
associated cost. I didn't think that we had the need for that, so we rolled the animal control responsibilities just into the regular patrol function. But we do need to keep that $500 line because we have to pay that fee. And that's what it goes to entirely. Other than that, all animal control costs are just blended into our function.
I want to talk to you about a turkey problem up on Cotton Notch.
Now I gotta catch a turkey?
It's not a turkey problem, it's a people problem.
People, turkey.
Yeah.
Okay, next item, public
How many
welfare.
do you have in your yard?
We haven't had any this year, people
Oh, yeah, we have
looking for help from
15
us, I guess,
there.
but 6,000 is still 6,000, unfortunately. Okay. The library, you can see where it's going up. The increase for wages is part of it. And as you wrote here, line item are not funded by town tax and they're funded by other revenues. See town report, what are those other revenues?
It's
In
basically
general?
just something that we're required to report for the Department of Revenue. It's an in and out, it doesn't affect the town budget.
Mhm.
They manage their budget well.
Aside from the COLA increase, what are the wages increase based on?
Hiring a new library director,
Yep.
who should be reporting for early February.
All right, Likens leaving.
We had to come up with a competitive wage with a very local
Yeah.
pool of applicants. And I think we're pretty happy with the way it's worked out, but most of that increase, Peter, is because of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, thanks to Lycan for
Yeah.
taking that position.
I know.
You can expect to see an official announcement about Lycan's successor within the next day or so.
Great.
Yeah, I use that library a lot now. I just got a 1,400-page book out of the library, the Count of Monte Cristo. Did you know that was 1,400 pages?
Wow.
I thought it was just a sandwich.
I read that 30 years ago. I think I kept on writing.
That was the
Even though I got
abridged
back to
version.
it.
That was the abridged version.
This is sick. No, now he needs the large print.
Hell of a book. All right. Other,
I thought it was a sandwich, Mark.
That's exactly what Peter just said.
oh, God,
I thought it was a sandwich.
It's a fascinating book, written in the 1840s, but anyway. Other conservation, this is for Conservation Commission, okay? And they're asking for the same as they did last year. And they've been doing a pretty good job. And of course, they got our community garden going. And did anybody have any community tomatoes?
No,
I forgot
Maybe
about it. I
next
think
year.
they took them home.
I have my own.
They're not sharing.
That's there.
Told you we should have planted our own stuff.
That's right.
Well, you can.
Yeah, yeah.
You can. There's room there, I think.
And you can
They're
go out and
charging
pick it at
lots.
lunch.
You gotta check into that.
You
okay?
have to wait until August.
Okay, this is other culture and recreation, and Hank, this is his baby, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, this is interesting, it said in 2022, Jackson Flicks YouTube channel reported 13,000 video views, 17,000 minutes watched for all videos. So this is a great service you're supplying, so people are able to see this. So maybe not a lot of people don't show up in the meetings, but they're gonna hear and see what we're up to here, so I think
And it
that's
was,
terrific.
and it was interesting because on the survey, not many people said they use Jackson Flicks for information, but Hank has data that proves otherwise. So it wasn't the people that filled out the survey that watched the videos, but they come in handy.
No,
It's nice service.
Hank brought something up to me, I'll just bring it up now, because he said that, at first we thought if we filmed our meetings and we brought them to Conway to show on Channel 3, it was gonna cost us $50, right?
Yeah, so it's.
And they would pick it up instead of us bringing it, so they'll pick up the film and we don't have to pay, is that what you were saying?
Well, I can transmit the film digitally,
Okay.
and what happens is, there's no drop-off fee associated with that.
Okay, so, I'm not sure if we want to, I like the idea of being on Channel 3 with our kids in the school and all the different things that happen, recreation and stuff, but I'm not so sure. I'm just gonna ask, do you think we should be on film every couple of weeks? Would you, Channel 3? Is that something that, because we can do it, there's no charge to it.
Yeah,
And you
it
can
won't
just
cost
bring it.
anything.
I don't want to.
Had we had any headway in getting access to it?
They're-
Oh,
they-
yeah,
we
yeah.
already
Yeah.
talked about
Go to
that.
Channel 3,
Finally.
Jerry, it's on.
It's on now?
Yeah, Channel 3, it's been on for a while.
To watch your grandson playing basketball.
Well, see, things like that, I think are terrific.
Yeah.
Do we really want to have a
Yeah.
planning board meeting or a
I
selectmen's
know,
meeting
I know.
on there?
Personally.
Yeah, so, if we have
If
two
people want
selectmen,
to
not
come,
really.
people from Bartlett want to come to our meeting, they can come to our meeting.
Yeah. And
Just like
if they
Conway.
want to watch
Right.
it on Hank's channel, they can watch
Yeah.
it.
But all those other things that happen at the Whitney
Yeah.
Center, the school, whatever, racing, I mean, that could all be there as long as we go film and film. And we have access to Channel 3. And it used to be, what, Channel 1789 or something? It was
Yeah.
3, then they
Yeah.
and they brought it back to Channel 3, which is cool. So tonight when you go home, turn it on, you'll see it.
Yeah.
We hadn't been there for a while.
But you have to have cable, right, to get it?
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have cable.
Oh, well, then, for heaven's sakes, you can't watch his games.
Okay, and as we say here in New Hampshire, parks and recreation. It's flat right here, Bartlett Recreation Department, we work with them, how does this work? Just, all right.
No, it's supplies for us.
Debt service, the debt on, what are we paying, is
It's
this
the,
still the
highway
town,
garage.
highway department?
Till 2031.
Okay. In the total operating budget, here we go. As you can see, we spent a lot of money in this town, but it's all needed. This is, like I said, I really feel that this is, everything we spend is appropriate. And it's not like we're padding anything here. And
8.7%.
I know.
in knowing
Interesting.
what everything is
Cost of living.
And that includes, as I said, the wages, and oil, and electric, and all the different things that we do, you know. And we might, it's kind of early to say this and project out, but there's good potential for us to have, when we get out to October, November next year, we can work at some of these numbers and budget surplus.
We often have a lot of money to return
Fund
from
surplus.
offset taxes.
Yeah, we do.
Fund balance.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, okay, what do we got? Agents will spend capital reserve from us?
Those
Okay.
were from last year for the funds for the PD truck
Right,
and the highway
right,
truck.
right,
And
right.
those were some offset with grant money and then same with the generators that we put in, et cetera.
Okay.
You just commented about some of the money that we also have, that we can put towards our fund balance. And
Mhm.
our fund balance is
Healthy.
so healthy, but I look at our tax rate, and we talk about how low our tax rate is, and we're very grateful for that. But I also think we're prepared that if and when the state tax rate goes up and some of the other tax rates go up, and we do have to dip into our fund balance, we will be prepared for that. So I don't think we should ever rest on our laurels.
Right. But we can still say we're a low-tax town, meeting all our needs. And I think that's important. But we're going to discuss other things that, as you say, the fire station, the school, well, the school will take care of it on their side of it, but there are going to be other expenditures coming down the road here. How soon, I don't know, but we got to get into it, because we know we got to do something. And I feel strong about that. I told you that today, Billy and Jay, about the fire station. All right, so anyway, just be prepared for all that. But we're in pretty good shape. These guys just do a fantastic
1.4,
job.
right?
And I gotta give a lot of credit to
1.4.
the Julies and what they do in the office.
How much is it?
Put all this together for us.
Yeah.
They said they're lucky they work for us.
That Julie A does all that.
He does.
Yeah, it's a team.
Yeah, but you make her feel relaxed. You know? You know what I mean?
You don't have any HR moments or anything like that.
That's it.
Peter, you had a question?
Well, I'm just curious.
Yeah, because she said there's still stuff with
Yep, yeah, so we're gonna do the warrant articles at the next hearing?
Yeah.
Yep.
I recognize
Peter.
it.
So was there any sense about moving forward about how much of the fund balance you would retain or wouldn't retain? I mean, 1.382 is a lot.
We're not
1.4.
supposed, the DRA won't let us go too high. We're getting up there. We're gonna have to use
Yeah.
a bit.
Yeah, that's gonna help a great deal.
Yeah, okay. And is it your sense that you would go within the suggested ranges or hold
That's
back?
Probably.
usually what we've done.
Yeah.
But we may be.
But you don't wanna have such a drop in rate either, so that you gotta.
I understand. It's a balance. You
Yeah.
gotta find a balance.
And like you said, looking at those numbers over the years.
Fire.
If you
You
look at
could
what
set
the
up a
state
capital reserve.
recommends,
You
Yeah.
could start a
we're
capital
actually
reserve.
if we take their highest percentage,
It wouldn't need to
our
be
fund
just
balance is
bond,
over
it's the same
double.
thing.
So we are very
But
healthy.
we've got the money.
Whether
And
that's
that's
good or
where I-
bad, it's a matter of opinion.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
But that's where I
That's why I say
think,
we overtax.
We could
I
overtax
think
them.
next year, we're gonna see some
About
shocking
80,000.
numbers come in from the state. Their number dropped significantly this
Some of
year.
the state school.
No, the state tax rate
Oh, yeah, okay.
This
Oh,
year.
overall.
dropped substantially, and we were able to absorb that. And next year, when it goes back up again because of some of the state funds that they got, I just don't think we're gonna be as fortunate to look at that and not dip into our fund balance, and we'll be prepared for it.
That'll be interesting, because the state is also running pretty healthy surplus these days.
Yeah, so we'll, fingers crossed.
Yes, Bill.
Yeah, question, and somebody made a smart, quick remark, but I'd like to ask the question because it does beg itself. And that is, if we have a surplus, if it's moved to a capital reserve fund, is it no longer considered surplus?
It's not actual money, it's like equity in your house. It's not cash we have.
Okay.
It allows us to have a greater amount in our checking account, but it's not a direct, it's not cash.
It's not like we have a savings account with a couple $1 million
So
and
it's not real
it would
money.
be reduced.
It's like equity in your house.
But
You
equity,
can- you
because-
can bargain a little bit better
Wait a
because you've
minute,
got that money.
Yeah,
Your
that's,
tax rate, when you set the tax rate, your tax dollars, you get your tax bill, you pay what that tax rate formulation was. So that money is paid in, and the surplus,
Fund balance.
unencumbered fund balance is real money. I don't agree with that statement, it's real money that it takes a vote of town to get it and spend it. But it's not just paper. It's no, well, we can argue that for hours, and you know, Frank, we pay our tax bills, you pay your tax bill. Jerry, we know this, you pay your tax bill, and that money was not spent.
we're overtaxed,
We've already paid.
we're overtaxed about anywhere from
Okay.
50
All right,
to
hold on a
80,000
second
a
here.
year.
All right, let's take a little order to this.
I'm sorry to ask the question.
No, I'm glad you asked the question, that's okay. Go ahead, Jake.
So, when we bought the grader, all that money came from unreserved fund balance. Where, if it's not real money,
So-
where did the money come from?
So the years that I've been talking to Tammy from COAS Advisors about this, the question's been asked constantly. Now, there is what you're talking about is I wish I had my town report in front of me, but the amount that people write checks for, that is money that, yes, we bring in, but that is
Right.
not exactly the same as fund balance.
Well, Julie, what adds to the balance? What makes it go up?
When we don't spend all of our,
Right, no,
That's right, when we don't spend all the raised money by taxation, that's unencumbered funds.
the way it's always been, and maybe I'll have to get a different definition, but the way that Tammy has always said to refer to it as is like equity in your house, that it's not,
she's
that it is
wrong.
not cash.
She's
She's wrong.
So I will talk to someone else about it and see if they have a
Talk to the
different.
Secretary of State's office, talk to DRA, but that information is not correct, Jim.
But let's just say what is correct for what we've been doing all these years.
Yeah, no,
The
it's
fact is the
good,
fact that
it's
we've been able to
money
keep a
We
tax
can
rate.
tap it with a vote of the town. You can't just go out and say, well, we're gonna buy a new
I
loader.
mean,
We're
we've
taking
done
it
the
on the
same
front.
thing with the, like, back in 2010, we took a couple $100,000 out of it, and put it into roads.
Right, right.
You know, so that money must be coming from
Comes from tax dollars.
a safe
Really?
money.
Answered by next week.
She's listening to Tammy.
Okay, we use it, all right, we always use it, we only
My
use all
son's
of
had
it.
this
So
conversation
remember, when
with
you
her.
use that, it's gone, and then so the next year you still have that hole to fill, and so you're gonna come up money for that. And before you know it, you have no surplus and you have a very high tax rate. So I just feel like this thing's gone pretty smooth, but it's a good
It's a
discussion.
good thing to have.
I will get- I will-
We're in a good place.
I will get further clarification and
Well-
have it spelled out differently. I'm
And the
just-
legislature hasn't changed it. I did a lot of research on this back in the 80s when we had some issues on that, and I've talked, it's not money that you're gonna go out tomorrow and write a check on, but it's not just on paper.
But it also has to do with the value of the town, and so I don't think it's that simple. It's not like
No,
you can just,
It doesn't. Just think about where it comes from, Julie. It
well, if
doesn't
it were
come.
that simple, I think that people over the years would have given me a simple explanation, and it's never been a simple explanation, so I will get
Folks,
further.
I think we do have another meeting coming up. Thanks, Bill, for all of that. Appreciate that.
Do their homework and we'll find out.
I have an answer for you.
But I-
It's simple.
And this
It's
is, this is
not
good.
complicated.
We have informed
If we tax
residents.
$100 and we only spend 50, it's 50
Is there any more discussion? One more thing.
Good job on the budget.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is.
Any thoughts in the future of hiring a professional grant writer for a budget question?
Nope, any other questions? No.
We use some of that surplus money. No, I don't know.
You know,
Just something to think about, I don't wanna get in a
Well,
long
we've talked
conversation
about it,
about
well,
it.
every time someone mentions that, we say, well, ask Emily. And Jason-
Emily would love for you to hire a grant writer.
I-
So would her husband.
Maybe there's somebody in town who wants to volunteer. But we have to
It's not
see.
the grant
Like to
writing, it's the
proofread all
results.
this.
We have done that, yes, we've already done that, yes. And just something to throw out there, it's, you know,
So,
Okay. Yeah, well, no, you said that a couple of times. All right, so somebody want to make a motion to close this?
I will make a motion to adjourn tonight's public hearing.
All those in favor?